Have you ever witnessed a father and his son, a brother, drive away laughing after abandoning their own daughter, sister in a foreign country, taking her passport and credit cards because she dared to talk back at dinner? That's not a scene from a movie. That's what happened to me in a small Italian town in June 2024. They thought it was a joke, a lesson to teach the failure daughter some humility. They expected me to come crawling back within days, begging for forgiveness and a plane ticket home. I didn't. Instead, I made a single phone call that changed everything. 1 month later, my father tracked me down in Greece, desperate to reconnect. Not out of love, but because he suddenly needed something from me. And when he found me, I was no longer the woman he left behind. I was someone he didn't recognize, someone he couldn't control. Someone who had built a life so far beyond his understanding that when the truth came out in front of 800 people at an international summit in Vienna, he could only sit there in shock. My name is Fiona Hudson. I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of how being abandoned became the best thing that ever happened to me and the worst decision my family ever made. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. To understand how I ended up stranded in Italy, you need to understand my family. I graduated from Stanford in 2019 with an MBA, the same degree my father, Marcus Hudson, earned from University of Oregon back in 1988. He built Hudson Properties Group from the ground up, a commercial real estate firm in Portland that now pulls in $12 million a year. 4 office buildings, all Class A. He's on the Portland Chamber of Commerce board. He drives a Tesla Model S and wears suits that cost more than my monthly rent used to cost. My half-brother Garrett, same father, different mother, is 34 and serves as VP of Development at the family company. He has an MBA from University of Washington, a Porsche Cayenne, and a penthouse in the Pearl District. Every family dinner, he'd talk about closing deals, about $3.2 million acquisitions, about his latest investment property. And then there was me. I chose to go back to Portland after Stanford and teach English at Lincoln High School. $52,000 a year. I loved it. Loved my students. Loved seeing them grow. Loved the moment when a concept finally clicked. But to my father and brother, I was wasting a $200,000 degree on a $50,000 job. Every Tuesday night, we had family dinner at my father's house in the West Hills. Garrett would spend 20 minutes talking about his latest deal. My father would beam, ask follow-up questions, pour expensive wine. Then he'd turn to me. "Any promotions, Fiona?" "I was nominated for Teacher of the Year," I said once, back in March. "That's nice, honey." He smiled, then immediately turned back to Garrett. "So tell me more about the Vancouver property." But the moment that really showed me where I stood happened at a business mixer my father hosted in April. He introduced Garrett to a potential investor. "This is my son Garrett, VP of Development, closing deals left and right." Then he gestured to me. "And this is my daughter Fiona, she's a teacher." The way he said it, apologetic, almost embarrassed, told me everything. I had another offer back in March, a big one, but I turned it down because my father said family comes first. I was starting to realize he only meant his kind of family. The final straw before Italy came in May. My father threw a party to celebrate Garrett's promotion to VP, 40 guests, catered by some downtown restaurant I'd never heard of, champagne flowing like water. I wore my best dress, the navy one I'd bought for job interviews back in 2019. Garrett wore Tom Ford. When it came time for toasts, my father stood up with a glass of champagne and spoke for 5 minutes about Garrett's accomplishments, his vision, his leadership. He detailed every deal, every success, every reason why Garrett was the future of Hudson Properties. Then he gestured to me. "And of course, my daughter Fiona is here too. She teaches high school." That was it. One sentence. A woman I didn't know approached me later near the appetizer table. "So what do you do?" Before I could answer, my father appeared beside me. "She's still figuring things out." I was 29 years old. I'd been teaching for 7 years. I had a master's degree in education on top of my MBA, but to him, I was still figuring things out. Garrett made it worse. He clinked his glass and announced to a group of guests, "We tried to get Fiona into the family business, but she wanted to make a difference." He used air quotes. People laughed politely. I went home early that night. 2 weeks later, my father announced we were taking a family trip to Italy in June. "Bonding time," he said. "Maybe Fiona will finally see what success looks like." I almost said no. But part of me, the part that still wanted his approval, thought maybe this trip would be different. Maybe away from work and Portland and all the pressure, we could just be a family. I was wrong. Around that same time, I received an email from Dr. Elena Moretti, someone I'd met at an education conference in 2022. The subject line read, "Follow up on March offer." I marked it unread. I'd deal with it after Italy. We arrived in Montepulciano, Tuscany on June 18th. My father had rented a villa for $8,000 a week, stone walls, vineyard views, a pool that overlooked rolling hills. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it became a week of humiliation. Garrett rented a Ferrari for the week and spent the first 2 days taking photos of it for Instagram. "Living the dream," he captioned one post, then turned to me. "Want me to Photoshop you into a Prius?" My father laughed. On the 19th, we drove to a restaurant called La Grata for dinner. My father had invited 6 relatives from Florence, distant cousins I'd met maybe twice in my life. The kind of dinner where everyone's trying to impress everyone else. Halfway through the meal, my father launched into what he called Fiona's funny story. "So my daughter here," he said, loud enough for the entire table to hear, "turned down a real job after Stanford to teach grammar to teenagers. Can you imagine?" The relatives laughed politely. One of them, a woman named Sophia, tried to be kind. "Do you enjoy teaching, Fiona?" Before I could answer, Garrett cut in. "She enjoys summer vacations." More laughter. I set down my fork and knife, the clink against the plate louder than I intended. I looked directly at my father. "Can I talk to you outside?" He smiled, that indulgent smile adults give children when they're being dramatic. "Here we go." The lecture. But I stood up anyway. "Outside, now." He sighed, dabbed his mouth with his napkin, and followed me out to the terrace. Behind me, I heard Garrett mutter, "She's so sensitive." The terrace overlooked the valley, the sun setting behind distant hills. It should have been peaceful. Instead, I was about to have the conversation that would change everything. "Dad, I need you to stop making jokes about my career in front of people." He leaned against the stone railing, his expression patient, too patient. "Honey, we're just teasing. You're too sensitive." It's not teasing when it's every single dinner for 7 years. The terrace door opened. Garrett stepped out, hands in his pockets. "Oh, come on, Fiona. Grow up. If you can't handle a joke, maybe you should have stayed home." I turned to him. "I'm asking for basic respect." My father's voice went cold. "Respect is earned. When you do something worth respecting, we'll respect it." The words hit like a slap. "I did," I said quietly. "And you never noticed." My father straightened. "Like what?" I could have told him then. About Dr. Moretti. About the offer I'd turned down in March because he'd said family comes first. About the project that could have changed my entire career. But I didn't. Because I realized, standing there on that terrace with the Tuscan sunset behind us, that nothing I said would matter. He'd already decided who I was, what I was worth. "Forget it," I said, and walked back inside. My father called after me. "You want respect? Then stop playing victim and start acting like a Hudson." I didn't respond. The rest of dinner was silent. At least, silent for me. My father and Garrett laughed and talked with the relatives as if nothing had happened. I pushed food around my plate and counted the minutes until we could leave. On the drive back to the villa, Garrett turned around from the passenger seat. "You really need to lighten up, Fiona. We're on vacation." I stared out the window at the dark hills and said nothing. I didn't know it then, but that conversation had set something in motion, something that would cost them far more than they ever imagined. I didn't hear the conversation that happened that night, but my father told me about it later, much later, after everything fell apart. After I'd gone to bed, Marcus and Garrett sat on the villa's terrace with a bottle of Brunello. She needs to learn humility, my father said. Garrett swirled his wine. She's always been like this, thinks she's better than us because she helps people. Maybe we've been too easy on her. What are you thinking? My father was quiet for a moment. Then, tomorrow, we're driving to Siena. What if we left her in town? No phone, no cards. Let her figure it out for a few hours. She'll panic, call us crying, and finally appreciate what we do for her. Garrett laughed. That's harsh, Dad. Sometimes harsh is necessary. One night alone will teach her more than any lecture I could give. You really think she'll learn? She'll learn that the world isn't as easy as she thinks. That maybe a stable job and family support matter more than her pride. They clinked glasses. The next morning, June 21st, my father knocked on my door at 9. We're driving to Siena. Want to come? I was tired. Tired of the tension. Tired of being the joke. I think I'll stay and explore Montepulciano. Perfect, he said, smiling. Meet us at Piazza Grande at 6 p.m. We'll grab dinner. Okay. Don't be late, Garrett added from the hallway. At 11, I walked into town. The streets were narrow and cobblestoned, lined with shops selling wine and ceramics. I stopped at a small cafe, ordered a cappuccino, and left my bag in the car, my passport, credit cards, phone, everything, because I was only going to be gone 20 minutes. When I came back out, the car was gone. I called my father, no answer. I texted Garrett. His response came 5 minutes later. Dad says you need some time to think. We'll pick you up when you're ready to apologize. Ciao. Then, another text. Let's see how far that teaching salary gets you in Italy. Maybe you'll finally understand what real pressure feels like. I stood in the middle of Piazza Grande, staring at my phone, reading Garrett's message over and over. They'd taken my passport, my credit cards, everything. I checked my wallet, 40 euros in cash. That was it. I called my father 3 more times, straight to voicemail. I sent him a text. Dad, this isn't funny. I need my passport. No response. For about 10 minutes, I felt the panic they wanted me to feel. The helplessness. The fear of being stranded in a foreign country with no way home. And then something shifted. I sat down on a bench near the fountain and opened my laptop. Thank God I'd brought it, planning to do some lesson prep for the fall semester. The cafe had Wi-Fi. I logged into my email. There it was. The message from Dr. Elena Moretti, still marked unread. Subject: Follow up on March offer. I opened it. Fiona, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to follow up on our conversation in March regarding the Pan-European Bilingual Education Initiative. I understand you declined due to family commitments, but I want you to know the offer still stands. We're looking for a lead curriculum architect for our 12-school network across Greece, Austria, and Germany. The contract is $240,000 over 18 months, with the possibility of extension. If you're interested, the position needs to be filled by June 30th. Please let me know. Best, Elena. June 30th. That was 9 days away. I read it twice, then 3 times. My father and brother thought they were teaching me a lesson about dependence, about knowing my place. Instead, they'd just freed me from the only thing holding me back. Them. I hit reply. Dr. Moretti, I'm currently in Italy and would love to discuss this opportunity. Can we schedule a call? Best, Fiona, I pressed send. Then I blocked my father's number. Dr. Moretti called me back within 2 hours. Fiona? Her voice was warm, energetic. I'm so glad you reached out. Where are you? Montepulciano. Long story. I'm in Rome for a conference until tomorrow. Can you get to Rome? I'll cover your travel. I hesitated. I don't have my credit cards right now. There was a pause. If she thought that was strange, she didn't say so. No problem. I'll wire €500 to the Western Union in Montepulciano. You can pick it up this afternoon and take the bus tomorrow morning. We need to move quickly if you're interested. I'm interested. Good. Let me tell you about the project. For the next 20 minutes, she explained. The Pan-European Bilingual Education Initiative was a network of 12 private schools, 4 in Greece, 5 in Austria, 3 in Germany. They needed a unified curriculum that integrated English with local languages, designed for students aged 10 to 18. The position was lead curriculum architect, 18-month contract based in Athens with travel to Vienna and Berlin. The contract included intellectual property protections, she said. Clause 7 states that you retain co-ownership of any original frameworks you develop. You'll be credited in all publications. This isn't just a job, Fiona. It's a legacy project. My hands were shaking. When would I start? Ideally, July 1st. We're announcing the initiative at the European International Education Conference in Vienna on August 15th. 800 attendees, education ministers, school directors, investors. I'd like to introduce you as our lead architect during the keynote. 800 people? It's the biggest education summit in Europe, held at Hofburg Palace. If you're going to launch a career in international education, this is the stage to do it. I thought about my father, about Garrett, about 7 years of being told I wasn't good enough. I'll be there, I said. Excellent. I'll email the contract tonight. Review Clause 7 carefully. It's important. If you can sign by June 25th, we'll have time to prepare everything for Vienna. We hung up. I sat on that bench for another hour, watching tourists take photos of the tower, watching the sun move across the plaza. My father still hadn't called back. I didn't care anymore. I picked up the €500 from Western Union at 4 p.m. The next morning, June 22nd, I took a bus to Rome. 3 hours through the Tuscan countryside, my laptop bag on my lap, everything I owned in the world reduced to what I could carry. Dr. Moretti met me at the Rome Marriott at 10 a.m. She was 52, sharp-eyed, with silver hair pulled back in a bun. She hugged me like we were old friends. "You look exhausted," she said. "It's been a long couple of days." "Well, let's make them worth it." She handed me the contract. 18 pages. I read every word. The compensation, $240,000, paid monthly over 18 months. The role, lead curriculum architect, responsible for framework design, teacher training protocols, and assessment metrics. The location, Athens, with a company apartment overlooking the Aegean and a workspace at their office in Syntagma Square. Then I got to Clause 7. The lead curriculum architect retains co-ownership of all original pedagogical frameworks developed during this contract period. The architect will be credited as primary author in all publications, presentations, and promotional materials. This clause is non-negotiable and survives termination of this agreement. You'll notice we're serious about attribution, Dr. Moretti said. Too many organizations exploit their consultants. We don't. Your work is your work. I signed electronically. Welcome to the team, she said. Now, about Vienna. The EIEC summit is August 15th, 9 a.m. keynote at Hofburg Palace. I'll introduce you, and we'll project your contract on screen during my remarks. Clause 7, your name, your role. Transparency is part of our brand. You're going to show my contract publicly? Just the key terms. We want attendees to see that we value our people. Is that all right? I thought about my father's face when he found out. That's perfect, I said. Before I left Montepulciano, I sent my father one final text. I'm safe. I'm in Rome. I'm not coming back to Portland. Don't look for me. Then I blocked his number. His last message, delivered seconds before the block took effect. You're being dramatic. Call me when you grow up. I know some of you watching have been in a similar place, stuck between family expectations and your own dreams. If this story resonates, Please hit the like button and leave a comment telling me, have you ever had to choose yourself over family approval? What happened? I read every comment, and your stories inspire me to keep sharing mine. Now, let me tell you what happened next in Athens. I arrived in Athens on June 25th. Dr. Moretti picked me up at the airport herself, driving a small Fiat through streets crowded with motorcycles and tourists. She took me directly to my apartment, a two-bedroom place in Glyfada, 10 minutes from the beach, with a balcony overlooking the Aegean Sea. The furniture was simple but new. There were fresh flowers on the kitchen counter. It's beautiful, I said. You'll be working hard. You should have a place that feels like home. The office was in Syntagma Square, a 10-minute metro ride from my apartment. The team was small, 8 people total, 3 curriculum designers, 2 language specialists, an assessment expert, a project manager, and Dr. Moretti. On my first day, a man about my age approached my desk. He was tall, with dark blonde hair and an easy smile. "You must be the Stanford genius Elena keeps talking about," he said, extending his hand. "Lucas Brennan, EdTech consultant. I'm based in Vienna, but I'm here for the summer helping with the rollout. Fiona Hudson, and I'm not a genius. Elena says you designed a bilingual cognitive development framework that got published in 3 journals. That sounds like genius to me." I felt my face flush. That was my Stanford thesis. "See? Genius," he grinned. "Welcome to the team. Fair warning, we work like crazy, but Elena buys good coffee and we get Fridays off in August." For the next month, I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. 10-hour days designing curriculum frameworks, meeting with pilot schools in Athens and Thessaloniki, revising assessment protocols. But it was different from teaching. I wasn't just helping 25 students at a time. I was building something that would reach 12,000 students across 3 countries. One afternoon in mid-July, Lucas leaned over my desk. "You know what Elena told me about the EIEC summit?" "What?" "Last year, they announced a €50 million education fund. This year, they're announcing your curriculum. That's the same level of importance." I stared at him. "That's terrifying." "That's validation," he said. "Own it." On July 10th, my mother called. Margaret Hudson, my mom, had divorced my father back in 2015, but they'd stayed on speaking terms for my sake. She was the only family member whose calls I still answered. "Fiona, honey, your father is losing his mind." I was sitting on my balcony in Athens, watching the sunset over the water. "Good. He hired a private investigator to find you." I sat up straight. "He what?" "He's frantic. He says he's worried about you, but Garrett told me the truth about what they did in Italy. Fiona, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "It's not your fault, Mom." "Do you want me to tell him where you are?" "No, not yet. I need time." "He's planning to fly to Europe next week. He thinks you're still in Italy." "Let him look." 5 days later, Marcus found my new phone number. I don't know how, probably through my mom, though she swore she didn't give it to him. He called 8 times in one afternoon. I didn't answer. Finally, he left a voicemail. "Fiona, this is ridiculous. We need to talk about what happened. It was a misunderstanding. I'm coming to Athens on July 20th. Meet me at the Hilton at 2 p.m. We'll work this out." I deleted the message, but he came anyway. On July 20th at 2 p.m., the receptionist at our office called my desk. "Ms. Hudson, there's a Marcus Hudson here to see you." My stomach dropped. Lucas looked up from his computer. "You okay?" "It's my father." "Want me to tell him you're not here?" I thought about it. Then I stood up. "No, I'll handle it." I went downstairs. My father was standing in the lobby, wearing a polo shirt and khakis, looking out of place among the Athens business crowd. When he saw me, relief flooded his face. "Fiona, thank God." "What are you doing here?" "We need to talk." "No, we don't." "Fiona, please, I flew 10 hours. I crossed my arms. "You left me in Italy without my passport. What's there to talk about?" It was a mistake. Garrett thought it would be a wake-up call." "It was. I woke up." My father looked around the lobby, the glass walls, the modern furniture, the sign that read International Education Initiatives in English and Greek. What is this place? I work here. You work here? What happened to teaching? I'm still in education, just a different kind. He blinked. Fiona, I don't understand. You've been here a month? What are you doing? I could have told him everything right then. About the contract, about the project, about Vienna, but I didn't. I'm working. Goodbye, Dad. I turned to go. Wait. His voice cracked. Can we at least have coffee? Please. 20 minutes. Something in his tone made me pause. He looked smaller than I remembered. Older. Tired. 20 minutes, I said. There's a cafe 2 blocks away. We walked in silence. He tried to make small talk. Athens is beautiful. The weather's nice. How's your apartment? But I didn't respond. At the cafe, we sat outside. He ordered an espresso. I ordered nothing. Fiona, I'm sorry, he said. We shouldn't have left you. You took my passport and laughed. It was stupid. But you have to understand. We were frustrated. You talk back. You don't appreciate what we... Appreciate what? Being humiliated at every family dinner? He sighed. You're being dramatic. There it is. What? You can't even apologize without blaming me. He rubbed his face. Fine. I'm sorry. Truly. Now can we move past this? No. Fiona. What do you want, Dad? Why are you really here? He hesitated. I want to understand what you're doing, this job, this place. Why? Because you're my daughter and I care about... Try again. His jaw tightened. Fine. Garrett and I are looking to expand Hudson Properties into educational real estate, private schools, boarding facilities. We need European contacts. And there it was. You didn't come to apologize, I said quietly. You came because you need something. That's not fair. How much is the deal worth? He paused. Potentially 8 to 10 million over 5 years. I stood up. I'm done here. Wait, Fiona. This could be good for you too. If you introduced me to your boss. No. Just one meeting. I said no. He grabbed my wrist, not hard but enough to stop me. You're being selfish. I pulled my hand away. I'm being self-respecting. There's a difference. I walked away. Behind me I heard him call out, I'll be at the EIEC summit in Vienna. Garrett and I registered. We'll see you there. I didn't turn around. 2 days later, July 22nd, Garrett arrived in Athens. I was at my usual cafe near the office when they both appeared. Marcus must have told him where to find me. Garrett pulled out a chair without asking. Fiona, we need to talk. I'm working. Come on, family helps family. Just one introduction to your boss. I closed my laptop. You left me in Italy as a joke. And you're still mad about that? It's been a month. Get over it. No. Marcus leaned forward. Fiona, your mother told me you're doing well here. We're proud of you. You're proud now because I'm useful. That's not... Look, we made a mistake. But this deal could set up Hudson Properties for decades. You'd benefit too. Inheritance. Family legacy. I don't want your inheritance. Don't be childish. I'm not being childish. I'm being clear. I'm not giving you anything. Garrett's face reddened. You're being selfish. This is a $10 million opportunity. Then find it yourself. We can't. We don't have the connections. You do. And whose fault is that? Marcus's voice hardened. Fiona, just give us Dr. Moretti's contact information. We'll handle the rest. You don't even have to be involved. No. Why not? Because you spent 7 years telling me my work was worthless. Now you want me to hand you my connections? Unbelievable. That's not what we... Yes, it is. I stood up. And if you contact Dr. Moretti directly, I'll tell her exactly why you're really interested. I'll tell her about Italy. I'll tell her everything. Garrett stood too. You can't hide behind your boss forever, Fiona. We're family. We'll always find a way in. Try it, I said. See what happens. Marcus grabbed my arm again. We'll be at the Vienna summit. We're registered as guests. We'll introduce ourselves to everyone there. You can't stop us. I pulled away. Watch me. I left them at the cafe. When I got back to the office, I forwarded their threats to Dr. Moretti with a simple note. FYI, my father and brother may try to approach you in Vienna. They're looking for business connections, not education. Thought you should know. She replied within minutes. Noted, I'll handle it. Focus on your presentation. The pressure didn't stop. Over the next week, Marcus and Garrett stayed in Athens. They'd somehow found out which cafe I went to in the mornings, which route I took to work. They were waiting for me everywhere. On July 25th, Garrett cornered me outside my apartment building. Fiona, be reasonable. We're not asking for much, just an introduction. I already said no. Dad's willing to cut you in, 5% of any deal that comes through your connection. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? I want you to leave me alone. He stepped closer. You know what your problem is? You think you're better than us. You think because you help people that you're morally superior, but you're not. You're just broke and bitter. I'm neither of those things. Really? Because from where I'm standing, you're a high school teacher who got lucky with a temp job. This won't last, Fiona. And when it's over, you'll come crawling back to Portland and we'll remember this. Is that a threat? It's reality. I looked him in the eye. I'm not the person you left in Italy anymore, Garrett. I'm not afraid of you. And I'm not coming back. We'll see. That evening, Marcus sent me an email. The subject line, final offer. Fiona, I understand you're angry, but anger is a luxury we can't afford. The Vienna summit is in 3 weeks. Garrett and I will be there. We're going to network with or without your help, but it would be easier and better for everyone if you cooperated. Think about it. This is family. Dad. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my calendar and marked August 15th in red. 3 weeks until Vienna. 3 weeks until they saw exactly who I'd become. On August 1st, I flew to Vienna. The EIEC summit was 2 weeks away, and Dr. Moretti wanted me there early to prepare. She'd booked me a room at a small hotel near Stephansplatz, walking distance from Hofburg Palace. The first morning, she took me to see the venue. Hofburg Palace is massive. White stone, gold accents, the kind of building that makes you feel small just standing in front of it. Inside, the ballroom where the keynote would take place held 800 seats, all facing a stage with a screen that stretched 20 feet wide. This is where you'll present, Dr. Moretti said. My hands went cold. That's a lot of people. It is, but Fiona, they're here to see innovation, and that's what you've built. What if I mess up? You won't. We'll practice every day until the 15th. She handed me the speaker brief, a 12-page document outlining the keynote schedule. My segment was 15 minutes, 10 minutes for Dr. Moretti's introduction, 5 minutes for my remarks, 10 minutes for Q&A. During my introduction, I'll project your contract on screen, she said. Clause 7, your name, your role. It's part of our transparency initiative. Attendees want to see that we value our people. My father and brother registered as guests, I said quietly. She looked at me. I know. I saw their names on the list. They're going to try to network, to use my connection to you. Let them try. Her voice was steel. Fiona, this is your moment, not theirs. Don't let 2 people make you forget that 800 others are there to see you succeed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining my father's face in the audience, kept imagining him standing up during Q&A, saying something that would undermine everything. On August 10th, I received an email from Marcus. Fiona, Garrett, and I arrive in Vienna on August 14th. Let's have dinner before your presentation. We can clear the air. Dad. I stared at the email for a long time, Then I forwarded it to Dr. Moretti with a note. FYI, they may approach you at the summit. Her response, I'll handle it. You focus on your presentation. I didn't reply to my father. The night before the summit, there was a welcome reception at Hofburg Palace. 300 guests, champagne, hors d'oeuvres, networking. I wore a black dress I'd bought in Athens, simple but professional. I stood near the edge of the room, nursing a glass of sparkling water, watching education ministers and school directors talk in clusters. Then I saw them. Marcus and Garrett, both in expensive suits, walking through the crowd like they owned the place. My father wore his Chamber of Commerce smile. Garrett had his phone out, taking photos. They saw me at the same time I saw them. Marcus's face lit up. He walked straight over, Garrett behind him. "There's my daughter," he said, loud enough that people turned to look. "The curriculum expert." A woman standing nearby, a school director from Munich, smiled at me. "You're presenting tomorrow?" Before I could answer, Marcus jumped in. "She is. We're so proud. I'm Marcus Hudson, her father. Real estate development, Portland, Oregon." He extended his hand. The director shook it politely. Garrett was already handing out business cards. "Hudson Properties Group. We're exploring educational real estate in Europe. We should talk." I felt my face burn. "Dad, can I talk to you for a second?" "What?" "I'm networking." He turned back to the director. "My daughter's brilliant. Stanford MBA. Always knew she'd do something big." "Stop," I said quietly. He ignored me. "We're expanding into the education sector. If you're looking for development partners, Dad," he finally looked at me. "What, Fiona?" "Stop." "Stop what?" "I'm proud of you. I'm telling people." A man approached, another director, this one from a school in Salzburg. "You must be Fiona Hudson. Elena speaks very highly of you." Marcus extended his hand before I could respond. "Marcus Hudson, Fiona's father. We're in commercial real estate. Have you considered—" "Excuse me," I said, and walked away. I found Dr. Moretti near the bar. "Are you okay?" she asked. I wasn't. My hands were shaking. "They're using me. They're telling everyone they're here to support me, but they're just handing out business cards." She squeezed my shoulder. "Tomorrow, everyone will know who you really are, and it won't have anything to do with them." I wanted to believe her. August 15th, 9 a.m. I stood backstage at Hofburg Palace, listening to the hum of 800 people taking their seats in the ballroom. Lucas had flown in from Athens to support me. He stood beside me now, hands in his pockets. "You've got this. Just breathe." "I can't breathe." "Yes, you can. In through your nose, out through your mouth, like we practiced." I tried. My hands were still shaking. Dr. Moretti appeared, clipboard in hand. "Fiona, ready?" "No," she smiled. "Good. If you weren't nervous, I'd be worried." She paused. "I saw your family last night. Do you want me to seat them in the back?" "No," I said. "Let them sit wherever they want." "You're sure?" "This is my moment, not theirs." She nodded. "That's exactly right." At 8:45, I peeked through the curtain. The ballroom was full. 800 seats, all occupied. I spotted my father and Garrett in the 5th row, right side. They were talking to the people next to them, smiling, shaking hands. Garrett pulled out his phone and took a selfie. I watched him type a caption. "Supporting my sister at her big presentation. Hatch, proud brother." I felt sick. Dr. Moretti touched my shoulder. "Fiona." I added a slide to my introduction. "I want to show your contract. The full Clause 7 section. Is that all right?" "You're going to show the contract on screen?" "Yes. With your signature, your terms, your value. It's part of our transparency message. We want attendees to see how we treat our people." I thought about my father, about 7 years of being told I wasn't good enough. "Show it," I said. At 9 a.m., the lights dimmed. The MC's voice echoed through the ballroom. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Elena Moretti, Director of International Education Initiatives. 800 people applauded. Dr. Moretti walked onto the stage, and my life changed forever. Dr. Moretti stood at the podium, calm and confident. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Today, we're unveiling something extraordinary, the Pan-European Bilingual Education Initiative. The screen behind her lit up with a map of Europe, 12 schools marked in red across Greece, Austria, and Germany. This network represents a new model for bilingual education, but a project of this scale requires more than good intentions. It requires expertise, vision, someone who understands not just theory, but practice. She clicked to the next slide. My face appeared on the screen, a professional photo I'd taken in Athens. Below it, Lead Curriculum Architect, Fiona Hudson. After a global search, Dr. Moretti continued, we found her. Fiona Hudson, Stanford MBA, 7 years of secondary education experience in Portland, Oregon. An expert in bilingual cognitive development whose thesis was published in 3 academic journals. I watched from backstage. In the 5th row, my father sat up straighter. Garrett's smile faded. Dr. Moretti clicked again. The screen now showed my contract, not the whole thing, just the key section. Fiona joined us in June 2024 under an 18-month consulting contract valued at $240,000. I heard a murmur ripple through the audience. The camera zoomed in on Clause 7. The lead curriculum architect retains co-ownership of all original pedagogical frameworks developed during this contract period. The architect will be credited as primary author in all publications, presentations, and promotional materials. Clause 7, Dr. Moretti said, ensures that Fiona's work remains her work, because we believe that when you value people, you create something that lasts. Another click. The screen showed an email, my acceptance, dated June 21st. Fiona turned down this role once before, in March, because she prioritized family commitments. In June, she chose herself. And in doing so, she chose 12,000 students across Europe. The audience applauded. Dr. Moretti looked toward the wings. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Fiona Hudson. I walked onto the stage. The applause grew louder. I looked out at the audience. 800 faces, lights, cameras. And in the 5th row, my father and Garrett frozen in their seats. Marcus's face had gone pale. Garrett's mouth hung open. They'd come here to use my connections. Instead, they were about to watch me become someone they never imagined I could be. I stood at the podium and looked out at 800 people. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Then I saw Lucas in the wings, giving me a thumbs up. I took a breath. Thank you, Dr. Moretti. Good morning, everyone. My voice came out steady, stronger than I expected. For 7 years, I taught English to high school students in Portland, Oregon. I loved it. I loved watching a struggling reader finally understand a complex text. I loved the moment when a student who'd been silent all semester raised their hand for the first time. I clicked to my first slide, a photo of my old classroom. But I also knew that the skills I'd developed, curriculum design, assessment, differentiated instruction, could scale beyond one classroom. That's what brought me here. I walked them through the framework. 3 language pairs, English-Greek, English-German, English-Italian, adaptive learning pathways, cognitive development metrics, teacher training protocols. I spoke for 15 minutes. The audience was silent, attentive. When I opened the floor for questions, a school director from Vienna stood. Ms. Hudson, how did you transition from secondary teaching to international curriculum design? I smiled. I didn't transition. I elevated. Teaching teenagers taught me how students actually learn, not just how we think they should. That's the foundation of this entire framework. Applause. Another question, from a woman in Berlin. What makes this curriculum different from existing bilingual models? I answered, clearly, confidently, and then I said something I hadn't planned. This project represents more than professional growth for me. It represents a choice to honor my own worth, something I once sacrificed for family approval that was never offered. The room went quiet, then someone started clapping, then another, then the entire audience rose to their feet. Standing ovation. I looked at the fifth row. My father and Garrett remained seated. Dr. Moretti walked back onto the stage and hugged me. "You were perfect," she whispered. I'd just proven, in front of 800 people, that I was exactly as capable as I'd always believed, and my father had a front row seat. When I stepped off the stage, 20 people were waiting. A director from Munich, the same woman my father had approached the night before, handed me her card. "Ms. Hudson, I'd like to discuss bringing your framework to our school network. Can we schedule a call?" "Of course." A man from a school in Salzburg. "We're opening 2 new campuses next year. We need someone with your expertise." Lucas appeared at my elbow, grinning. "Fiona, 3 schools want consultation calls. I'm keeping a list." I was shaking, but this time from adrenaline, not fear. An investor from London approached. "Ms. Hudson, are you available for advisory roles beyond this project?" "Potentially. Send me an email." I gave out my card 12 times in 15 minutes. Then I saw them. Marcus and Garrett stood at the edge of the lobby watching. They didn't approach. The Munich director noticed them. "Isn't that your father? The man from last night?" "Yes." "He said he's in real estate development. Is he involved in education?" "No." She frowned. "That's odd. He made it sound like he was part of your project." I didn't respond. Garrett sent me a text. "We need to talk." I didn't read it. Dr. Moretti found me near the coffee station. "Fiona, 2 people just asked if your father is the Marcus Hudson from Portland Real Estate." I said I didn't know. Should I? "No," I said. "Let them wonder." She studied my face. "Are you okay?" "I'm better than okay." An hour later, Marcus and Garrett found me in the hallway outside the ballroom. "Fiona." My father's voice was tight. "We need to talk." "I'm busy. Please, just 5 minutes." I looked at him, really looked at him. He looked smaller now, uncertain. "Fine," I said. 5 minutes. We walked to a quiet corner near the palace courtyard, and for the first time in my life, I had the power. We stood in the courtyard, tourists walking past us, the August sun bright overhead. "Why didn't you tell us about this job?" my father asked. "I did, in March. You said it was a waste of time." Garrett stepped forward. "We didn't know it was this big." "You didn't ask. You assumed." My father ran a hand through his hair. "Fiona, I'm sorry. We were wrong about your career." "You were wrong about me. Can we start over?" "No, but we can start differently." "What does that mean?" I met his eyes. "It means I'll see you at family events if Mom is there. I won't discuss my career with you. And if you ever humiliate me again, in public or private, I'm done. Completely." "That's harsh." "That's fair." Garrett's jaw tightened. "What about the school deal? Can you at least introduce us to—" "No." "Fiona." I said no, Garrett. You left me in Italy because I talked back at dinner. You thought it was funny. Now you want me to help you make $10 million? That was different. It wasn't. You've spent 7 years treating me like I'm worthless. Now that I'm not, you want access. The answer is no. My father's voice cracked. "I don't know how to fix this." "You can't fix it. Not right now, maybe not ever, but you can start by respecting my boundaries. I flew across the world for you." "No, Dad. You flew across the world for a business opportunity. Don't confuse the two." I turned to walk away. "Fiona, wait." I stopped. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly. "I should have said that 7 years ago. I'm saying it now." I looked back at him. He looked old, tired, genuine maybe, for the first time in years. "Thank you," I said. "But I don't need your pride anymore, Dad. I needed your respect 7 years ago. Now I have my own." I walked away. This time, he didn't follow. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I know this story is long, but I wanted to share every detail because so many of you have asked. How do you set boundaries with family? This is how. It's not easy, and it's not always clean, but it's necessary. If this resonates, please subscribe and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Now, let me tell you what happened after Vienna. The fallout started within 48 hours. On August 16th, my father had a meeting scheduled with the director from Munich, the one he'd approached at the reception. She canceled via email that morning. Mr. Hudson, after speaking with colleagues at the summit, we've decided to pause our discussions regarding educational real estate partnerships. We prioritize working with partners who demonstrate strong family values and integrity. Best regards. My father called me. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Fiona, did you say something to these people? 3 schools just canceled meetings. This is my livelihood. I texted back. I didn't have to say anything. People talk. This isn't fair. Neither was Italy. On August 18th, Garrett called. His voice was tight with anger. What did you tell them? I told them nothing. Then why are they ghosting us? Maybe because you introduced yourselves as my family, then they watched me talk about choosing my own worth over family approval. People aren't stupid, Garrett. That was a month ago. And you never apologized. Actions have consequences. You're destroying our business. No, you did that when you left me in Montepulciano. He hung up. 2 days later, my father received an email from the Pan-European School Network Coordinator. Mr. Hudson, we've heard from multiple attendees about an incident in Italy involving your daughter. We don't partner with individuals or firms whose family dynamics suggest instability or poor judgment. We wish you well in your future endeavors. Hudson Properties lost 2 potential consulting contracts, combined value of approximately $4 million. They had to cancel a planned business trip to Berlin. My father sent me one more text. Are you happy now? I didn't respond. But yes, I was. Not because they lost money, but because for the first time in my life, my choices had consequences for them, not just for me. On August 20th, I received an email from Garrett. The subject line, Formal Apology to Fiona Hudson. It was CC'd to Dr. Moretti and my mother. Dr. Moretti and Fiona, I want to formally apologize for my behavior in June 2024. My father and I made a serious error in judgment by leaving Fiona in Montepulciano, Italy, without her belongings. It was disrespectful, dangerous, and inexcusable. Fiona, you deserved better from your family. I'm sorry. Sincerely, Garrett Hudson. I stared at the email for a long time. I forwarded it to Lucas. Is this real? He called me immediately. He's covering his ass, but it's public, and it's in writing. That counts for something. Should I respond? Only if you want to. I didn't respond. Not yet. 2 days later, my father called. I answered this time. Fiona. His voice sounded exhausted. Garrett sent that email because I told him to. But I want you to know, I'm sorry too. Not because of the business, because you're my daughter, and I failed you. Words aren't enough, Dad. I know. What do you want? I'd been thinking about this since Vienna. I want you and Garrett to donate $10,000 a year to the Lincoln High School Teacher Scholarship Fund, in my name, for 5 years. Silence. That's $50,000 total, he said finally. That's the cost of rebuilding trust. More silence. Okay, he said. I'll do it. I want the first payment made by September 1st. And I want documentation, a letter to the school signed by you and Garrett, stating why you're making the donation. Fiona? Those are my terms. He sighed. Okay. And Dad? If you miss a payment, or if you try to use this donation for publicity, I'm done. Completely. I understand. We hung up. 3 days later, I received an email from Lincoln High School's principal. Fiona, we're honored to announce the Hudson Family Teacher Scholarship, $10,000 annually for 5 years, funded by Marcus and Garrett Hudson in your honor. This will help 2 teachers per year pursue advanced degrees. Thank you for making this happen. I cried when I read it. Not because my father had finally done something right, but because 2 teachers I'd never meet would have opportunities I'd had to fight for alone. On August 25th, my mother called. Fiona, I heard about the scholarship. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Mom. I also heard about what happened in Vienna. Your father told me everything. Everything? He told me they ambushed you at the summit, that they tried to use your connections. Honey, I'm so sorry. I should have stood up for you years ago. Mom, it's not your fault. Yes, it is. I stayed quiet because I didn't want to make things worse, but my silence enabled them. I heard her take a breath. I told your father, if he and Garrett don't attend family therapy, I'm telling everyone in Portland what they did in Italy. Mom, you don't have to. Yes, I do. They need to face what they did. And if they won't do it privately, I'll make sure they do it publicly. 3 days later, my father called. Your mother gave me an ultimatum: 6 sessions of family therapy, or she goes public with the Italy story. Good. You agree with her? Yes. He sighed. Fine, I'll do it. But Fiona, will you participate? Via Zoom if you can't come back to Portland? I thought about it. Only if the therapist agrees that the goal is accountability, not reconciliation. What's the difference? Reconciliation assumes we're going back to how things were. We're not. Accountability means you understand why I left. Okay, he said quietly. I'll find a therapist. On September 5th, I joined the first session via Zoom from my apartment in Vienna. The therapist, a woman named Dr. Brennan, started with a simple question. Marcus, Garrett, what do you think you did wrong? Garrett spoke first. We left Fiona in Italy without her belongings. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, I said. It was a choice. You chose to humiliate me. My father looked at the camera. His eyes were red. You're right, he said, and I'm sorry. For the first time in 7 years, I believed him. My mother didn't wait for therapy to finish. On September 10th, she attended a parent meeting at Lincoln High School, a gathering for families whose children had graduated in the past decade. About 30 people. During the open discussion, someone asked, "What's the best lesson you learned from parenting?" My mother stood up. I learned that sometimes the people who need support most are the ones we overlook because they don't fit our definition of success. She told them about me. Not everything. She didn't name my father or Garrett directly, but she told them about a daughter who chose teaching over business, who was mocked by family for years, who was abandoned in a foreign country as punishment for standing up for herself. That daughter, my mother said, is now designing curriculum for 12,000 students across Europe. She's speaking at international summits. She's building a legacy. And she did it without her family's approval because we failed to give it when it mattered. The room was silent. Then a woman raised her hand. Margaret, is that daughter Fiona? Yes. 3 other parents shared similar stories. Children who'd chosen social work over law, art over finance, teaching over medicine. All of them had faced family pressure to do better. One parent posted on Facebook that night, no names, but the message was clear. Reminder: your child's worth isn't measured by their salary. It's measured by the impact they make. The post got 500 shares. My father received 4 calls from friends over the next week. Is this about Fiona? He didn't answer. On September 15th, Marcus lost his seat on the Portland Chamber of Commerce board. He wasn't re-elected. The official reason was scheduling conflicts, but 2 board members told mutual friends the truth. We heard about the family situation. It doesn't reflect the values we want to represent. A former business partner sent him an email. Marcus, I always thought you were tough but fair. Now I'm not sure about the fair part. My father forwarded it to me without comment. I didn't respond. The consequences were spreading beyond just business deals. They were reshaping his reputation. On September 20th, I did something I'd been thinking about since Vienna. I started a blog. The URL, choosingyourself.substack.com. The tagline, A Teacher's Journey from Portland to Europe and Why Being Left Behind Saved Me. My first post was titled, The Day I Was Abandoned in Italy and Why It Was the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me. I didn't name my father or Garrett. I didn't need to. I told the story, the years of being dismissed, the dinner in Tuscany, waking up to find my passport and credit cards gone, the text message with the laughing emoji. Then I told them about the phone call to Dr. Moretti, about Athens, about Vienna, about standing on a stage in front of 800 people and proving that my worth had never been up for debate. I ended with this. They wanted to teach me a lesson about dependence. Instead, they taught me that I was never really with them. I was always on the periphery, waiting for approval that would never come. Being left behind didn't break me. It freed me. I hit publish at midnight Vienna time. Within 48 hours, the post had 5,000 reads. The comments flooded in. I turned down a PhD program because my parents said teaching was enough. Reading this made me reapply. Thank you. My father hasn't spoken to me in 2 years because I'm a social worker instead of a lawyer. This gave me the courage to stop apologizing. I needed this today. Thank you for sharing. Over the next month, I wrote 4 more posts. Setting boundaries without guilt, when family becomes toxic, the economics of low-status work, and how I negotiated a $240,000 contract. By December, the blog had 50,000 followers. I was invited to speak at 2 teacher conferences, one in Boston, one in Seattle. My father read every post. He sent me a text in October. I read your blog. I understand now. I didn't respond immediately, but I saved the message. On October 1st, Dr. Moretti called me into her office in Athens. Fiona, we need to talk about your contract. My stomach dropped. Is something wrong? The opposite, she smiled. We want to extend 2 more years. Senior Curriculum Director, $320,000. You'd oversee expansion into Poland and the Czech Republic. 5 more schools. I stared at her. 2 years? You've exceeded every expectation. The schools love your framework. The teachers love your training protocols. We'd be foolish to let you go. Can I think about it? Of course, but Fiona, you belong here. You know that, right? That night, I called my mother. Mom, they offered me 2 more years in Vienna. That's wonderful, honey. Are you going to take it? I think so, but I feel guilty. About what? Leaving you. Leaving Portland. Leaving everything. My mother was quiet for a moment. Fiona, you already left. You left the moment you got on that bus in Montepulciano. This is just making it official. But what about you? I'll visit. I'll come for Christmas. And honey, you're not leaving me. You're choosing yourself. There's a difference. On October 5th, I signed the contract. Dr. Moretti shook my hand. Welcome to the next chapter. I moved into a larger apartment in Vienna, 2 bedrooms, a balcony overlooking the Danube, space for a real office. I bought furniture. I hung art on the walls. I made it mine. By the end of October, I had $80,000 in savings. I bought a plane ticket for my mother to visit in December. Lucas stopped by my apartment one evening with wine. You know, he said, when you first got to Athens, you looked like you were running away from something. Now you look like you're running toward something. I am, I said. Toward what? Myself. On October 15th, I received an email from Lincoln High School. Dear Fiona, we're honored to announce the Hudson Family Teacher Scholarship, $10,000 annually for 5 years, funded by Marcus and Garrett Hudson in your honor. This scholarship will support 2 teachers per year in pursuing advanced degrees in education. The first recipients have been selected: Sarah Mendez, pursuing a master's in special education, and David Park, pursuing a master's in TESOL. Both teachers cited financial barriers as the primary obstacle to continuing their education. Your family's generosity has removed that barrier. Thank you for making this possible. Sincerely, Principal Rebecca Walters. The email was CC'd to my father, Garrett, my mother, and the school board. I read it 3 times. Then I cried. Not because my father had finally done something right, but because 2 teachers I'd never met, Sarah and David, would have opportunities I'd had to fight for alone. My father sent me a private message an hour later. First payment sent. I hope this is a start. I responded, it is. 3 weeks later, I received an email from Sarah Mendez, one of the scholarship recipients. Ms. Hudson, I don't know if you remember me. I student taught in your classroom in 2019. You told me I had a gift for working with students with learning disabilities, and you encouraged me to pursue a master's degree. I almost quit teaching last year because I couldn't afford to go back to school. This scholarship gave me hope. Thank you for fighting for us. Sarah. I wrote back immediately. Sarah, I remember you. You were brilliant then, and I'm sure you're brilliant now. Keep going. The students need you. Fiona. I forwarded the email to my father with a single line. This is what your money is doing. He responded, thank you for showing me. For the first time in 7 years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we were moving towards something that looked like healing. On November 20th, we had our 6th and final therapy session. I joined via Zoom from Vienna. My father and Garrett sat together in Dr. Brennan's office in Portland. My mother sat off to the side, observing. Dr. Brennan started with a simple question. Marcus, Garrett, what have you learned over these 6 sessions? My father spoke first. His voice was steady, but I could see the weight in his eyes. I learned that I measured Fiona by my standards, not hers. I told myself I was pushing her to succeed, but really, I was pushing her to be someone she wasn't. Someone I wanted her to be, and I was wrong. Garrett shifted in his seat. I learned that I saw Fiona as competition, not family. I was afraid that if she came back to the business, she'd threaten my position. That was my insecurity, not her fault. Dr. Brennan turned to the camera. Fiona, what do you need moving forward? I'd been thinking about this for weeks. I need them to respect my choices without commentary. I need them to stop comparing me to Garrett, and I need them to understand that I'm not coming back to Portland. This is my life now. We understand, my father said. Garrett nodded. Can we visit you in Vienna? Someday, I said. But not yet. Dr. Brennan made a note. Fiona, is there anything else? Yes. I looked at the camera, at my father's face on the screen. I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means I'm not carrying your guilt anymore. That's yours to deal with. My father's eyes filled with tears. Thank you for giving us a chance. I'm not giving you a chance, Dad. I'm giving myself one. You're just part of the process. Dr. Brennan closed her notebook. I think that's a good place to end. We said goodbye. When the call ended, I sat on my balcony and watched the lights of Vienna flicker on across the city. I felt lighter than I had in years. Thanksgiving in Vienna felt strange. November 28th. Most Europeans didn't celebrate, but I wanted to mark the day somehow. I invited Dr. Moretti, Lucas, and 4 colleagues from the Athens office to my apartment for dinner. Lucas brought wine. Dr. Moretti made pasta. A European compromise, she said, laughing. A colleague from Athens brought baklava. I roasted a small turkey, American style, and everyone teased me about it. Only Americans roast an entire bird for 6 people, Lucas said. It's tradition, I said. We ate on my balcony, the November air cool but not cold, the Danube glittering below us. Halfway through dinner, Dr. Moretti raised her glass. Fiona, What are you thankful for this year? I thought about June, about Montepulciano, about standing on a stage in Vienna, about everything that had changed. I'm thankful for the people who saw my value when my family didn't, and I'm thankful I finally saw it myself. Lucas raised his glass. To new families. Everyone clinked glasses. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Happy Thanksgiving, honey. Your father and Garrett are here. We're eating in silence. I miss you. I smiled and texted back. I miss you too, Mom. Come visit in December. Another text came in. From my father. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm proud of you. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I set my phone down and turned back to my friends. I didn't respond to my father. Not yet, but I saved the message. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, I stood on my balcony and looked out at the city. The lights, the river, the life I'd built. I thought about the girl who'd been left in Italy 5 months ago. She wouldn't recognize me now, and that was exactly the point. My mother arrived in Vienna on December 15th. I picked her up at the airport, and when she walked through the arrivals gate, she looked smaller than I remembered. Older, but when she saw me, her face lit up. Fiona! We hugged for a long time. I drove her to my apartment. She gasped when she saw the view. Honey, this is beautiful. I know. You did this yourself? I did. She set her suitcase down and turned to me, her eyes wet. I'm so sorry I didn't stand up for you sooner. Mom, you're standing up now. That's what matters. We spent 3 days together. I took her to the office, introduced her to Dr. Moretti and Lucas. We walked through Schönbrunn Palace, drank coffee at cafes near Stephansplatz, visited the Christmas markets. On the second night, Dr. Moretti joined us for dinner. She shook my mother's hand warmly. Margaret, your daughter is extraordinary. We're lucky to have her. My mother's eyes filled with tears. I always knew. I just didn't say it enough. On the third day, we sat on my balcony with tea, watching the sun set over the Danube. My mother reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. Your father asked me to give you this. I opened it. A handwritten letter. Fiona, I can't undo what I did, but I'm trying to be better. I'm attending therapy on my own now, not just the family sessions. I'm learning that I measured my worth by money and status, and I tried to force you into the same mold. That was wrong. I hope someday you'll let me visit Vienna. I'd like to see the life you've built, not to judge it, just to see it. I'm proud of you. I should have said that 7 years ago. Love, Dad. I folded the letter and set it on the table. What are you going to do? My mother asked. I don't know yet, I said. Someday, but not today. She nodded. That's fair. We sat in silence, watching the city lights flicker on. You know what I learned from you? My mother said quietly. What? It's never too late to choose yourself. New Year's Eve in Vienna was loud and bright. I stood on my balcony at midnight watching fireworks explode over the Danube, listening to the city celebrate. Lucas called. Happy New Year! Any resolutions? Just one, I said. Keep choosing myself. The next morning, January 1st, I opened my laptop and started writing a new blog post. The title, 1 year later, What I Learned from Being Abandoned. I wrote for 3 hours, barely stopping. Being left behind taught me something crucial. I was never really with them. I was always on the periphery, waiting for approval that would never come. My father and brother didn't abandon me in Italy. They revealed what had always been true. I was never part of their vision of success. I was a disappointment they tolerated. But here's what they didn't understand. The best revenge isn't revenge. It's building a life so fulfilling that their opinions become irrelevant. I didn't lose my family in Italy. I found myself. And in finding myself, I found something better. People who valued me for who I am, not who they wanted me to be. A career that challenges me. A city that feels like home. A future I'm excited about. If you're reading this and you're stuck between family approval and your own worth, here's what I learned. Choose yourself. Every time. Without apology. They'll call you selfish. They'll call you ungrateful. They'll tell you you're making a mistake. Let them. Because the only mistake is spending your life trying to earn love that should have been freely given. I hit publish at noon. Within 24 hours, the post had 10,000 reads and 300 comments. One stood out. I'm booking a one-way ticket to the life I actually want. Thank you. I smiled. That night I received an email from TEDx Vienna. Ms. Hudson, we'd love to discuss a potential TEDx talk. Choosing yourself when family doesn't. Are you interested? I stared at the email for a long time. Then I typed, yes. On February 10th, my father sent me an email. Fiona, I know I said someday. Is that day closer? I'd like to visit Vienna, just for coffee. No business, no lectures, just to see you. Dad. I didn't respond immediately. I forwarded the email to Dr. Moretti. What do you think? She called me. Only if you want to, Fiona. Not because you feel obligated. I called my therapist. I'd started seeing someone in Vienna after the family sessions ended. I'm not ready to forgive fully. But I'm curious. Is that okay? Curiosity is a good sign, she said. But set clear boundaries before you meet. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I replied, Dad, you can visit in March. 1 coffee, 1 hour. We talk about my life, not yours. If you criticize, give advice, or try to turn this into a business conversation, I leave. Those are my terms. Fiona. His response came within an hour. Agreed. Thank you. I set the date, March 20th, 3 p.m., at a cafe near Stephansplatz. 60 minutes. I told Lucas about it over lunch. Are you nervous? He asked. Yes. Do you think he's changed? I don't know, but I'm not the same person he left in Italy, so even if he hasn't changed, it doesn't matter. I'm not going back to who I was. Good. The weeks leading up to March 20th felt long. I kept imagining the conversation, what he'd say, what I'd say, whether it would end in reconciliation or another boundary. But I also realized something. I didn't need it to go well. I'd already built a life I loved. My father's approval, or lack of it, couldn't take that away. On March 19th, the night before our meeting, I wrote in my journal, tomorrow, I'm meeting my father. Not because I need him, but because I'm finally strong enough to face him without losing myself. That's the difference. March 1st, 2025. I sat in my office in Vienna, reviewing the latest progress reports from our schools in Poland and the Czech Republic. Dr. Moretti knocked on my door. Fiona, we're expanding again. 5 more schools, Poland and Czech Republic. Are you in? I didn't hesitate. I'm in. Lucas leaned over from his desk. You know, a year ago you were a high school teacher in Portland. Now you're shaping education policy across Europe. A year ago, I said. I was waiting for permission to be great. Now I just am. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah Mendez, the scholarship recipient. Ms. Hudson, I just got accepted into my master's program. Thank you for fighting for us. I texted back. Keep fighting. It's worth it. I closed my laptop and looked out the window at Vienna, the city I'd chosen, the life I'd built. In June 2024, my father and brother thought they were teaching me a lesson. They were right, just not the one they intended. I learned that my worth was never theirs to define. That approval I had to beg for wasn't worth having. That walking away from toxicity isn't abandonment, it's self-preservation. I learned that the people who truly value you will show it, not make you prove it. And I learned that sometimes, being left behind is the greatest gift you'll ever receive. Next week, I'll have coffee with my father. I don't know what will happen. Maybe he's changed. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe we'll rebuild something small and fragile. Maybe we won't. But for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of the answer. Because I don't need his approval anymore. I have something better. I have my own. Thank you for watching my story. If you've ever felt underestimated, undervalued, or left behind, I hope this reminds you. Your worth isn't up for debate. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, what's one boundary you're setting this year? I'll be reading every single one. See you in the next video.